opportunity, oh God, that we can gather in this place, oh God. Father, that we can gather together, Lord, as we have come as a community, my God, as we have come as a nation, oh God. I ask, oh God, that you would bring those that are still on their way, my God, that you would bring them in safety. I pray, oh God, that you will cover those that are here, my God. Father, every presentation that has to be made, my God, everything that has to be spoken, my God, I pray that it will be done in order and decency, my God. There will be no disruption, Father, in the name of Jesus. And Lord God, we commit this time into your hands, my God. We commit our leaders into your hands, my God. We commit, oh God, our nation into your hands in Jesus' name. Amen.
Standing for a moment's silence as we observe the passing of a stalwart from the Arima constituency, Mr. Charles Ford, brother of our former Mayor Ashton Ford, as well as of the very venerable former Member of Parliament for Princestown, Miss Amoy. May their souls rest in peace. You may take your seats. Mighty, mighty Malabar, good evening. No. For the mammoth crowd that is here today, good evening to each and every one of you. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and political leader of this great movement, who is on his way and who is listening to us live on the radio. His Worship the Mayor of Parliament for Dabadi O'Mara, your very own Lisa Morris Julian. The Member of Parliament for the constituency of Laventille West, the Honorable Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines. The Honorable Foster Cummings, Member of Parliament for La Hocketa Talparo. Foster Neville Cummings, you know, 30 years. Foster says, I have no middle. Foster Neville Cummings. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney, our Lady Vice Chairman, the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis. And from this platform here, we wish her a happy belated PNM birthday. We are so happy to have you. Our Deputy Political Leader, the Honorable Nian Gadsby Dolly. Our Public Relations Officer, Member of Parliament for San Fernando West, Touch Not God's Anointed, the Honorable Faris Al-Rawi. The member week comes. Former Deputy Political Leader of the PNM and the Grand Dame of this institution, Mistress Joan Yule Williams. We love you. We love you, Auntie Joan. Officers of the movement, including Mrs. Jennifer Batiste Primers, Councillor Janice Scott, Miss Maxine Richards, Kwesi Robinson, and all the other officers of the movement, Miss Pat Alei, members of the executive of Dabadi O'Mara, led by Chairman Courtly Leger, members of the executive of neighboring Arima constituency, and all you wonderful PNM people. Permit me to say a special good evening to former Edwards, old members of the PNM, new members of the PNM, prodigal sons of the PNM, including Sheldon Garcia. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, today was a historic day for Trinidad and Tobago. Was elected as the President of the United Nations General Assembly, and a feat that can only be accomplished by the People's National Movement, and we extend our congratulations to the Minister Brown and this government led by Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, on June 1st in 2014, this day in history, the headlines of the newspaper read, NIB buys Apsara for $37 million. A waste of the government's market. Police road project, ladies and gentlemen. So they were thieving the money and thieving the aggregate for the road. And in 2014, the other headline, which is very applicable to you here in W. O'Meara, is the COP party, whatever that stands for, stood for, or whatever, the COP, the corpse, the Congress of the Person, what, to decide on ganja video. I don't need to say anything else except from my very good friend, then Councillor Lisa Morris Julian, we were marching up and down in Port of Spain, making sure that the MP for W. O'Meara was able to identify himself. And we did the right thing and pressured him sufficiently to get him out. And W. O'Meara, you must ensure that he and his friends never lead this constituency again. We are the mighty history here in W. O'Meara because we know that there is a local government election coming, and we will let our political leader know that Arima Borough Corporation will be the first PNM borough to be declared. That's right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we proceed with the business of this man in 20. Before that, she had a very illustrious political career, entering the political arena in 2013 as a local government representative for Arima Central. She went on to become the deputy mayor in 2015, and then she went on to become the mayor in 2015. 16 after that election, ladies and gentlemen. She is powerful. She comes from a land paternal side, ladies and gentlemen. She represents you fiercely in the House of Representatives. She's an outstanding woman on the platform, and here tonight to address you in her first public meeting since being elected. Let us please welcome to the microphone the Honorable Lisa Roxanne Morris.
It's been a while. W. O'Meara, you're nice. To Dion, which is the name of our chairperson of tonight's proceeding, Neville and Roxanne. PNM family, to the proud constituency of W. O'Meara. When I say W, you say O'Meara. W. W. I don't want to boast, but we also won the recently held PNM Sports and Family Day. You see, in W. O'Meara, family is everything. And we will fight to the last to save our community. You see, because when crime goes up, the UNC fangs come down. First mayor for the Malabar area and the first MP, because Malabar was once part of the Arima constituency. And he would tell you in the beginning was nothing but love. Recently, we had a surge of crime, and as your MP, they walked the provided support, service, and counsel, and for that I thank our Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines. As your MP, I reached out to all the churches in the area. There are 5 churches in the train line. Churches showed up.
You all know what this means. You all know what this means. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to stand, and I want you to give a mighty Malabar welcome to the political leader, Prime Minister. What is this? Yes, mighty Malabar, the Member of Parliament for the constituency of Diego Martin West. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain of Team Trinidad and Tobago. No man. No man. Your political leader is coming here tonight. Malabar, welcome, welcome. Christopher Rowley.
So, boss, we love you in Dabadi O'Mara, don't we? Standards. Recently, our political leaders spoke about gang culture. But you see, as a parent and a former teacher, I understand. The gang culture fills a void, an empty space in the heart of a child who does not feel love or seen or heard. There isn't a teacher, there isn't a school, not even a Ministry of Education that could fill that void if we want to fix this. The Honorable Minister of Education, my sister in the struggle, Dr. Nian Gadsby Dolly, placed under my care. And I say care because she knows I do care. I genuinely care. The LMSIP program, which and whom we are well proud. Because we understand that a cultural shift is needed. So we went into these 4 schools. It's a pilot project with psychologists, tutors. We taught agriculture, art, drama. And they created a digital ebook about Laventille and all its wonders. You see, education is the legacy of the PNM. And despite what the UNC says, every doctor, every lawyer, PNM, we invest heavily in education. The Arima Hindu School was in Temple Street, and if you're from Arima, you know the problem with Temple Street. We brought that school right in the Dabadi O'Mara constituency. A brand new school. Recently, the Prime Minister, and you must admit, Prime Minister, it was like a secondary school, top class. And I'm happy to report that finally, Arima Central Secondary, we have our sixth form block in the making. You see, my good friend, the Minister of Public Utilities, for making sure that I got the lights. Now, Marvin, you can turn it on, please. Malabar Young Stars Football Club, Clint Busby is there doing his part in keeping our young ones occupied. He understands the importance of sports and education, which is why, thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister, we're also getting our pool in Malabar. But even Mr. Budsby would admit that after the age of 16, things that are not quite right. Our Honorable Prime Minister asked our Youth and National Service Minister to stop that gap. And I would let the minister give us the details, but very soon, Malabar, we would have the first youth development center in the east. For Dabadi, we paved the Mounsaka Road. We built the Kelly Street Bridge in Peytonville. Andrew Lane paved. Police Bridge and Road paved. I don't want my colleagues to get jealous, but Morris Street projects. You see, we are the party that survives and thrives because we invest in our community. So, let me just tell you all, Dr. Rowley loved Arima so much that he gave you, me, yes, since I approached Dr. Rowley and asked for the opportunity to serve. 10 years this June. Happy anniversary, sir. And I have served with some of the best. And I have worked with some of the best. And I know Dr. Dolly, Camille Robinson, Ray Geese, Simon Dano Brigger, Marvin Gonzalez, Faris Alwari, Terence Dial Singh, everyone you see on this stage, we care. And they like to mock us and say, oh, the PNM want to take good care. Yeah, we do. We take very good care. You all know that name? And Bo is associated with life sport. So she decided that Bo is the best man to put as an alderman in the Arima Borough Corporation. So just for fun, February, absent. March, absent. April. No, they didn't have any sitting. May, absent. June, absent. July, absent. No, man. January 30th, 2021. Present. Of August. So I said, you know what? The man improving. Come at least 4 times. Give the mayor one excuse. And then I saw that everything was online. So I decided to check to see how many times he contributed. He offered his viewpoint, how many times he represented his party, how many times he spoke for the polling divisions that are not PNM, and the answer is nonce, not once. In all this time, that man said not one word. And if I'm going to big up Ashton, I have to big up Jimmy Morris. And Elvin Edwards, I think one compliment a night is enough for you, right? So proud to be PNM. I am a product of the PNM. I am a proud to be a disciple of this man, Dr. the Honorable Doctor. He did it twice. I am proud to be an Armenian, and I am proud to represent Davide. And I'm also very proud that even fish know it's time to swim home. You know, it's not an easy process. I don't feel like you're just walking just standards high. So I want to wish all the councillors who are offering themselves again the best of luck. I would want to also service to people is service to God. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm ending with the famous, you know how we go. And you know how we do it. Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! And we have...
Give praise, children, yeah.
I told you she was fierce. She started by saying she was a little rusty, but this is your firebrand member of Parliament, Lisa Morris Julian. Doing God's work and your work and of the People's National Movement, starting as a member of the Youth League, becoming the chairman of the Couva South constituency at the tender age of 19 years old. Party youth officer male, party field officer, party elections officer, of the Red and National Service, the General of this mighty and unshakable PNM Red Army, the Honorable Foster Neville Cummings. Ladies
I
and
can't
gentlemen.
keep a good man down. Never ever take my crown. Oh, Jah bless, I say no man curse. Things getting better when they thought it would be worse. Here comes the officers asking for a search. They found no weapon, just only a draw first. But I'm so solid as a rock.
Today, under the stewardship of the Honorable Patrick. That's just to show you how long I listen. I feel I listen to got elected the President of the General Assembly of the United Nations. That is something that we all must be very proud about. But I can assure you of one thing: you will not hear one word from the UNC. And if the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines and your own Member of Parliament for W. Mera, the Honorable Lisa Morris Julian, all of my cabinet colleagues, Laurel would have mentioned all the names, so much to mention. And I have limited. Constituents of W. Mera, constituents of La Hoqueta Del Paro. What kind of noise is that? They're outside, okay. We are very happy to be here in this constituency. Every time we come to of youth development and national service. And the race was started by my colleague who is here tonight, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, who we must commend because he did a very good job. By the time I got to the ministry, thank you, Brother Hines. When I was called upon to take on this responsibility, I said to myself, you know, the young people of Trinidad and Tobago are our future. And we have to do all that we can to invest in them. And I came upon Psalm 121, which I love dearly. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that not slumber the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. He shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time and even forevermore. You think I take it on the UNC? I'm not taking them on one bit. We have work to do, and we are committed to. So this ministry was developed or set up for the development of our youth, infusing them with values and attributes of national service, self-sufficiency, and entrepreneurship. As we look to our young people, who, as I said earlier, are the it's just that we like to sell bad news. But there's so much good news for us to sell, and let me tell you about some good news that the government of Trinidad and Tobago has for our young people. We looked at the question of food security. And our Prime Minister, a leader in the Caribbean region, met with his programs flowed from that. I'm pleased to tell you tonight that coming out of the program of the government of youth in agriculture, by the year 2025, we would have trained and equipped and put on the field 1,500 new farmers in Trinidad and Tobago. The first 200 young farmers will graduate from that program having successfully completed their training, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, another 200 part-time are currently at the UTT campus in Centeno undergoing their training. And only last week, acre parcels, the young persons I just spoke to you about who have just left the university, trained by the government, will enter upon these lands, their 2-acre parcels each, courtesy the government of Trinidad and Tobago, led by Keith Christopher Rowley. Himself registered in the land and prepare it for them, give them planted material. The Ministry of Agriculture, who we are working very closely with, will do soil testing and advise them on what they can plant. NAMDEVCO will advise them on how they can market their produce. These young farmers will sell to the supermarkets, will sell to the fast food chains, the restaurants, export to that by next month, the first cohort of 100 young farmers will graduate from the University of the West Indies. And currently, there is an advertisement out inviting applicants for this, where they will practice their shade house farming, ladies and gentlemen. value crops, vegetables that we normally import like broccoli, etc., will be produced by these young farmers. And our third, youth in agriculture, put into use all of these ponds that we have had idle all over Trinidad and Tobago for the last many years, ladies and gentlemen. That program will also be run by the University of the West Indies. And it does not stop there. For the young people of this country, there is a music production and live skills program being run in conjunction with NESC. It's a program for young persons who wish to work in professional studios and start their professional studio or operate digital multi-track recording. And ladies and gentlemen, by 2025, we will train over 400 young persons. Over 100 persons have already graduated. And ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago, by 2025, we would have trained over 500 of our young people in leadership. Under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, an apprenticeship program for young people in woodworking, also a program under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. 50 young persons are currently training in that manufacturing apprenticeship program, affording our young people opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. That is your PNM government at work for you. We know as well that young persons from that program, as they come in, and the professionals show them how to utilize social media to market their products and to operate their businesses online. We aim to train over 600 young people in project trending and how to use social media to run businesses by 2025, ladies and gentlemen. That is thing to clap about. But what have we done as a government? We have launched a program called All Set in conjunction with the NESC to certify heavy equipment operators. We have already trained, graduated 100. There's a current cohort of another 100 right now. We aim to train 400 young people tonight, or go online at the ministry's website and register your young people for these very beneficial programs. And you know what? Many times you meet some of our young people who have gone through the secondary school system. They may not have come out with a full certificate, and they settle for a job maybe at a fast food outlet. Or there are currently 150 beneficiaries in that program. What does that program do? It is designed for the young persons I just described. The University of Trinidad and Tobago has designed a program where they can come in and they will execute this program over, I think it's a 1 or 2 year period, and follow it to afford 450 young persons that opportunity by 2025, ladies and gentlemen. That is your PNM government at work. Understanding that many of you with your motor vehicles may be looking for someone to conduct your mechanical work and so forth, and that there may be a shortage in that area. We have launched a program. This program has been oversubscribed. We are currently training 100. We aim to train 300 new mechanics by 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And you would think it stops there, but there is more good news. We have launched program CRISP, which is an air condition and refrigeration program, another program that will train a mentorship program. And because some of you are hearing about these things for the first time, we have designed a youth caravan. Package all of these programs together, and we move from community to community, taking these programs to you in your community so that you're aware. And so that we went to Port of Spain. We had one there. We were in San Fernando on the promenade. Brother Al-Rari was there at that caravan. We were at the Beetham Estate by Brother Hines. And the young people love until this is the good news that the PNM has for you. Training programs and opportunities for employment and for self-employment and for business, ladies and gentlemen. We are for our young people. The UNC cannot. They are only about bacchanal. If you listen to them, you would swear that you were living in Timbuktu. We know that life is sweet in Trinidad and Tobago, and we will work, and we will continue to do the work of the people until UNC, we say to Roxo. So, ladies and gentlemen, a non-residential youth development center that will be run in conjunction with the MIC. That facility will be located right here in Malabar. We looked at the site some time ago along with your MP and the project managers who are currently doing the designs for it. And the young people and we are currently in discussion to engage in a retraining program designed for those persons who have the skills have been practicing for a long time, but they're not certified. So that prevents them from certain opportunities, both locally, intervention of the government in the lives of young people who have left. We have many stories of young people who left secondary school with 0 levels and are now leaving my life with 5 and 6 O levels, ladies and gentlemen. And in South Trinidad, you're not left out for those Southerners. Like Brian, offering all of these programs that I've pointed out to you in South Trinidad for the benefit of the young people there. The Civilian Conservation Corps, we recently graduated 800 trainees out of that program. I was so surprised to know that in the CCC, hairdressing, barbering, transition homes, I can tell you about that. One being constructed in Sevilla right now, expanded in the one at St. Madeleine. We recently completed the Josephine Shaw Home. We recently committed the St. Michael School for Boys, for our chins. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you know about youth camps? We reopen all the Chagaramas Convention Center will be converted into a youth development and apprenticeship center. In Wallafield, for the young people of East Trinidad that require residential training arrangements, we will construct a youth development and apprenticeship center in Wallafield for the benefit of our young people in East Trinidad. At Presto in which is in Freeport in our UNC constituency, we are currently 60% completed with the refurbishment. By the end of this year, we'll be able to have that facility available for the young people of Central Trinidad. And point 14, you're not left out. We are about 80% complete. Centers throughout the country, in St. James, in California, in Los Bajo, and we have added one in point 14. You're not left out. You're getting a non-residential facility. What was the former MIC center in point 14? We are reopening it. We know it has been closed. The UN see that wicked government. In Palo Seco, we know they closed down your center there as well. We will reopen it under the PNM. And to bring all of this together, because we want to make sure it is sustainable, that we can manage it in an efficient and effective manner, that we can reduce the duplication, and to make establish the National Youth Development Agency of Trinidad and Tobago that will be the umbrella body to manage all of the programs I've just mentioned to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to give your Prime Minister a round of applause for that. We have NEDCO. the government will prepare such a place and allow you very, very small rents to come and practice your business. Of course, you submit your business plan, we will assist you, you get your seed funding and so forth, and that is the government of Trinidad and Tobago PNM style. So, ladies and gentlemen, I commend you for your choice of Keith Christopher Rowley and the People's National Movement. And so, as we continue to do the work of the people, we are approaching local elections. I ask you, all of you under the sound of my voice, if you want to continue with good, and we shall prevail.
I'm so sad he does a rock. They just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me.
Ladies and gentlemen, they just cannot stop Minister Foster Cummings, ladies and gentlemen. Try, young people here gathered in your hundreds in Malabar. And to all of the young people who are listening live and viewing on television, young people, if you want it, the opportunity is there for you, courtesy this PNM government. All you have to do, while we're talking about that, when Minister Cummings talked about the Geriatric Adolescent Partnership Program, a very senior member in this audience messaged me delighted that this program would service her in due course. I will not call her name. Okay, she put up her hand. So there's something for oh, Davide, my heart ached for you. Our minister is providing opportunities for our young people. Their minister is insipid. He is volatile. He is a disappointment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, ladies and gentlemen. History will show Brigadier Ansel Antoine and our former member of Parliament for Arima and former Deputy Mayor for Arima, Mr. Anthony Carl Garcia. All of these people, ladies, us. He is full of conviction, ladies and gentlemen, for what he has to do. He is passionate. He is just soldier in the battle against the wickedness and snares of the United National Congress and against the criminal evil that is trying to stalk this land. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the Member of Parliament.
The strangest man I've seen. God, he's a Rastaman. Having the mark of a Nazarene. That's because he's a Rastaman.
Rastafari. A very good evening to one and all. Senator Laurel Lizama, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, all of the executive of the People's National Movement, executive members present in this house, my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues, every one of us, Member of Parliament for Lahore, Talparo, Minister of Youth Development and National Service, who just reminded me of so much, inspired me even. The Member of Parliament for Dabadi, I recognize all local government representatives. I see we have chairmen in the House, councillors, aldermen, every one of you. And even the... Well, I know that fish realized. You say drunk as a fish? He wasn't drunk enough. So he had to leave that. And I do welcome and recognize you. And of course, executive members of the Dabadi Omera constituency, all members, and of course, former Chief of Defense Staff, Member of Parliament for this constituency, and author, Brigadier General Ansel Antoine, and of course I recognize another author among us, businessman, Mr. Bali Mirage. Welcome. And I thought about it. I felt immediately very excited. This bank, an indigenous bank, now the second largest in the country, was given birth by the great People's National Movement in 1993, at the time when the NCB, the National Commercial Bank, and the Workers' Bank pulled them together and formed this entity called First Citizens. And today, it is a proud and strong success as a national institution. And I might tell you, en passant, and he was doing a good job. And we decided that he will continue to do a good job. And we are proud the bank is doing quite well. But as every other outstanding institution created by the PNM and in PNM vision in this country, once the UNC got their slimy hands upon it, things tend to go in service of a particular individual who served in the government of the UNC. Remember that? But that wasn't the only 10 million. That 10 million come and cost you about $400 million in a project called Carlton, somewhere around by the Savannah. 400 PNM came back to office, and recently we had to enjoy the establishment of the BRICS. And I am told that it is now a profitable enterprise. The loan has been rearranged, and the bank is now no longer so exposed. The thing is now doing well again for us to deal with. I listened to Foster Cummins, and he told you about the vision of the political leader and the vision of the government and his responsibility in that ministry that he's executing. You can't turn a ship. Me and no say people were out there in the national community doing nothing. What Mr. Cummins has told you, and I had some working with it for 7 months when I was minister there, is our steering that ship back on course. And I feel particularly proud tonight to have heard the report from my brother Foster Cummins. Clearly to me, as the Prime Minister would often say, there are consequences for how we vote. And as we approach this local government, and we're ready for we expect every one of you young people, once you are over 18 and eligible to vote, to come out with your young, potential-filled, beautiful selves and vote for the PNM, because you have seen, you have listened to the political leaders, he espoused the vision that he carries in his bosom, that he articulates to us in the cabinet on an ongoing, on a daily basis. A man with a vision. And I heard a businessman get up yesterday and say, wow, whatever I spent to be here, but they got it yesterday. And you know, one of them told me, he said, it is better, it is easier to be a businessman when the PNM is in office. Because no longer do I have to study to jack up my price and somebody harassing me for 10 in order to achieve those things. This is no joke. But we have a problem in the national community. Like I saw some big elephant in the room, the business of crime, robberies, firearm proliferation and wanton use. Is that it going and repeat itself tonight? Shootings and woundings, home invasions, a very dreadful and traumatic crime like all others. Extortion, there are businessmen in this country who are suffering quietly. Because men, at the 31st of May, we had 242 of them. I inquired of the police, as I always do, to give an indication as to how these things, because I'm forever asking, are these preventable? Approaching the business of violence and crime as a public health concern, where you have to take the whole of the person, his spiritual, his psychological, his mental, his physical, his upbringing, his socialized violence as a public health concern. And Minister Dayal Singh will tell you, once you view it as a public health concern like COVID-19, you have different approaches. It requires a whole of person, whole of business, whole of government, whole of region, whole of world. We didn't manufacture no vaccines. We paid money. In the Caribbean today, the figures showing we losing 14 young lives on a daily basis. Sometimes right here in Trinidad, 2, 3, 4, 5 people per day. And the Prime Minister makes the point to us, if you lose 2, 3, 4, 5 people a day, you got to view this thing as a public health concern and treat it as such. Or the solution. So the police have a formula, and they look at altercations. Some of these they consider altercations. Like about 3 weeks ago, 2 fellas was in some casino by some bar in St. James. They had some little petty argument, a knife pull, and somebody dead. Another one. To be the victim came to me as young MP at the time. And he told me what the problem was. He owed the man $300. Well, of course, I take it, and I went and find the man who was threatening him and give him his money. I told him the man sent me with it. I did that. And these petty altercations lead to some of the statistics. Revenge killings, 79. You do me? You do me, brother? I go do your aunt. Robberies that turn into fatalities. 52, and so the story going in our communities. And of course, the major item, 244 of them were gang related. And the police can't stand up and just say, well, that is a gang, they're fighting at 605 lives last year. And in so far as year to date in 2023, altercations so far as at the 31st of May 20, domestic violence 6. I didn't tell you just now in respect of domestic 31, unknowns 29, and so far for the year 242 citizens would have lost, or visitors in some cases would have lost their lives. Firearm offenses, accounting for 87% of these murders across the region. It's about 90. If you make it available to somebody else, that is another crime. If you hide it in your backyard or your aunt or grandmother and you know it there and you didn't report it and the police come and they lock up the whole household, that is another crime. In 2012, the police in their activity, and 2022, 704, and as I speak to you today, about 280 firearms have been recovered. Among them, many of them military grade, weapons that you will typically find in the hands of soldiers available around the place. We seized 105 of those assault type weapons the other day, and CARICOM leaders recently, led by our Prime Minister, recognizing the danger of assault weapons, sometimes could pierce concrete in some cases, went inside the woman's domain and accounted for another life. So the CARICOM leaders in that symposium, led by our Prime Minister, took the position that we will take action. Some time ago, the United Nations outlawed 7.62 ammunition, the kind of ammunition we used in SLRs in our days. Because they are downright dangerous. But now they are proliferating in the society and available to members of this country, citizens of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, and therefore the government's policy includes firearm retrieval. The police have set up a special unit. They have special. You would have heard our political opponents ridiculing that very serious decision. But that is how they do the business. We have about 275 illegal opportunities for entry into trade. Use of these illegal ports of entry. Opportunities to enter here unseen, undetected, and of course even our legal ports with the complicit behavior on the part of employees of the state, employees at these ways for the illegal importation of drugs. Drugs and guns on account of corruption and in some cases negligence. So the government's policy is about improving our border security. In this regard, we purchased vessels which would patrol the entire country, working vessels with fast boat interceptor and helicopter interceptor when we had them. And this is why we purchased 3 OPVs, but up came the UNC. I tell you, voting have consequences. And when cow get pregnant, it don't make baby tomorrow, you know. So when you do stupidness, a few years ago, their boat don't turn 90 degrees or make sudden U-turns. It takes time. It takes skill. It takes investment. So as they cancel that and the Brazilians bought them, sailing under the Brazilian flags now, we had to go out in 28 hostile vessels. And we maintained them, we serviced them along with other vessels at great expense because we understand that we have to protect our borders. And in so far as the legal ports of entry is concerned, we have joined into some international frameworks, working together, specially trained. And they conduct operations in our lawful ports, along with other agencies, in order to break the trend and to stop the importation. Because the police tell me on a daily basis, if we pick retrieval, as I explained to you a while ago, ladies and gentlemen, another major element of the government's policy is to do whatever we as a government can, working alongside the independent judiciary and other stakeholders to quicken the criminal justice system. In the Supreme Court of Canada, they too were dealing with the question of delays. And in this particular case, a fellow called Jordan was charged for some drug trafficking offenses And it was not until 18 months later that he had a trial, and his lawyers asked the Supreme Court of Canada to indicate whether that was a breach of his constitutional rights. And the Supreme Court said, in 18 months. And if not, then the prosecution, the DPP and the state and the police have to show, the burden falls on them to show why it should not be dismissed for unconstitutionality. So I only tell you that to let you know Trinidad and Tobago is not the only country where we have issues around delay in the United States and the Forensic Science Center. And I, in carrying out the Cabinet's mandate to improve the swiftly criminal justice system, paid particular attention to these 4 elements. You would have seen me spending $1 million to improve their techniques in terms of ballistics so that they could better trace and help the police, the homicide bureau of the police service, to solve crimes. Time doesn't permit me to go into all the details, but I could tell you what they could reality. So they have improved their techniques. We trained 21 police officers in ballistic techniques, and they graduated some time ago. And they work closely with the Forensic Science Center. As indeed we have improved our output in the pathology section. You're not seeing any bodies. And we trained 5 persons recently too, engaged in training, including a number of police officers, because they are the ones investigating these crimes. And the symbiotic relationship with the Forensic Science Center is working beautifully. You make output of the Forensic Science Center, and it is assisting the police in no end in solving murders. And therefore, it may have escaped you, but the solve rate is improving, and I am quite happy about that. We, in this pursuit, particularly when Faris Arawi went from 36 to 63, 64. More masters of the court, legally trained persons. Used to have clerk of the peace in the magistrate's court. Now we have trained legal persons with criminal skills, working even in the magistrate's court, improving the system as we go along. We introduced judge-alone trials, burgeoning and growing business of human trafficking. These are the things we engage in. There's further digitization of the entire court. I could tell you now, the police, every case, the police file in the magistrate's court is now done online. Not like in my day where they had to get it. We have established circumstances inside the jail, and they can go right there, and their applications for bail and such things are worked out. And on the cards is an actual court, magistrate and high court, supposedly to be built inside of there to deal with some of those matters going forward. In justice, sometimes you are tempted to want to take justice in your own hands, and that is another problem by itself. Insofar as the police is concerned, 10,000 of them, 7,500 regular police, and about 2,500 fully files for training for police officers, as we do with all the officers across the system. We want to provide them with training, modern, best practice skill acquisition, so that they could function professionally, and you could get closer or even better than some of the things you see on and how they recruit. I told the Prime Minister recently, a woman came, a beautiful young woman with her son, 11 years old, in school clothes, came to my office on a matter. I complimented the youngster, wished him well, told him he had to pray hard and, well, work hard and pray harder if you. She is worried about the future of that boy. I said, but he's not a bad boy. She said, no. But in my community, gangsters are actively pursuing and trying to recruit little boys as small as 9 and 10. The program is to sensitize them to these things and to build community resilience. The IATF, the agency task force with soldiers and police, and the guard and emergency branch, which usually did only guard duties and reserve duties for when you have riot and so on, they have now come full square into the crime fighting domain. So proud. And then they told me, guard and emergency police, and I know they have come into the theater doing more than they normally did in an effort to bring peace and safety and security, along with the IATF. And I want to take the opportunity to congratulate the Commissioner of Police and to congratulate the senior of encourage them. We provide them with the resources they need. We sensitize them to your trauma. We sensitize them to your pain, your anguish, your expectations, and urge them as we produce more resources on your behalf, to give them more on in the cell, and he comes out and he does it all over again. So we have a restorative justice which focuses on rehabilitating him or her. We have all kinds of programs. Every program that, like the MUST and other programs, YTEP and many others that you know about, center, yes. To expose them, life skills, conflict resolution, all of this, so that in the context of the prison and with the policy that we carried it, we wouldn't have approach. So you heard Foster Cummings talking about what he does. You still have to hear what Shamfa Kojo is doing in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. You still have to listen to what the Minister of Social Development is doing, spending something like $5 billion a year in social security payments and support. And if you grew up on the corridor like me, on a 50 by 50 plot of land in a little board house like me, then you didn't have a sense of agriculture. You didn't have a sense of land ownership. But the Ministry of Agriculture, Foster Cummings' programs and others are doing that. You still have to hear what the Minister of Education is doing in the seamless system, creating have no good community if you don't have family, and if you ain't gonna have no family if you don't have a place to live. Let's congratulate the Minister of Housing for she doing the business in sound government policy. So ladies and gentlemen, last week Friday, we went to the Parliament to respond to a motion of no confidence in the Minister of National Security. Not new, not strange. Make a whole lot of noise and a whole soppy mess, and then go on again. That's what they do, to put it in metaphor. And therefore, we understand that. And we are remaining completely focused on what is in front of us. Say something if you know something, say something. And if you don't want to speak viva voce or live to a police officer because you can't trust nobody, it have 555 and it have other systems you can call, Crime Stoppers and so on. and it works. I know people have reported to me that they have used these systems to get guns and get drugs that are a threat to you, and you no bail within the first 60 days. And if the process started in the court, the prosecution started, no bail at all. Is either from guilty or you're not. And behind that was some policy, and I could tell you about it. I was there. We took the position that we are not negotiating with them. So I'm asking the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to team up, if not gang up, in a lawful, righteous manner and stand up against, work with law enforcement, and let us together fight this scourge of crime that evidently, and push back the UNC, demonstrating that the UNC is a crime. You can't come to talk to us about crime. And we know what we're talking about. So we are on the job and we're doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have the kind of anti-gang government. We will support you. We did that. And they had that law from 2010 to 2016. And used it. And then, when the law needed to be refurbished after the sunset, the 5-year sunset went. By then, the government changed, and the UNC, in their usual unprincipled way. And now I want to add, not just unprincipled, we have no execution. You heard the leader of the opposition saying, we were persecuting people, and therefore it was a good thing that these cases were now withdrawn. While that was happening, a court in America, Faris Al-Rari, on the instruction of the cabinet, went there. While that was happening in Trinidad, a court was finding them guilty in the United States, where men already make jail for the same. So we know the connection. Yeah. And we would discover recently, or some time ago, that they received from the US courts restitution money that the court had to protect wrongdoing. And that their hands are slimy. This is no loose talk. This is the real McCoy. And therefore, we are confident that we are on the right track. And we have the faith. We have the faith and confidence that we they must find no political air to breathe in Trinidad and Tobago. And I have told my colleagues 1,000 times as I close, all of the noise you hear from the drunken one, fellas like that is your advisor. And as one ex-UNC MP said, the woman advisor must be a fellow called Johnny. And he don't run. Then you could expect all of that. So ladies and gentlemen, stand and will always prevail. I thank you.
The strangest man I've seen. Having the mark of a Nazarene.
Thank you very much to our hard-working Minister of National Security, who has just presented the opposition. The UNC will not look after your best interests. Tonight you heard about the work from the Ministry of Youth. You heard pieces of the work from the Ministry of Education, and you heard from the Ministry of National Security. But ladies and gentlemen, hatred runs deep in their veins. Make night, as the Senate was over, Ministers Mitchell and Manning were witness state alongside me, a complete meltdown by an opposition senator. Standing on her tiptoes, shouting to God's heavens, face flushed red, shouting and carrying on and desecrating that sacred Senate chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the UNC wants to do. The UNC wants to divide and rule, but not this PNM. We are for all in Trinidad and Tobago, ladies and gentlemen. And permit me, therefore, to welcome Councillor Samuel Sankar from Warrenville Congress, and Councillor Sankar and Councillor Garcia, you are safe in the People's National Movement. You will receive no threats to your life. You will receive no threats to your person for being here. And so we welcome you, our political leader. And for me, he stands in the face of adversity and the hate that they spew. He admits he has been a doctor since 1978, and he just became a doctor again 2 weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen. He is astute. He is strategic. He knows what he is about, and dare I say, he is a great symbol of national pride in Trinidad.
Very much, Laurel, for your very warm introduction tonight. Party executive members, led by my personal and special advisor, never miss a PNM meeting as long as general election in Tobago. And one of my colleagues in that lineup was Amoy Mohammed under George Chambers as the Prime Minister. We've lost Amoy Mohammed. A soul there has passed on. And tonight in the PNM meeting, I'd like thank you very much. A former member of Parliament for Princess Town, representing the PNM, and a parliamentary secretary in the cabinet. In a corporation in Trinidad, a member of the cabinet or wider responsibility as opposition leader or prime minister. These are serious responsibilities and honorable positions. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we have the PNM, what a work that we do for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Political parties ours and others, I would say, have a mission, and it's largely based on a vision for doing better for the country, improving the lives of the people we represent. And to do so, you need to win friends and influence in the PNM. After we presented ourselves to the country, as we have been doing on an ongoing basis, we expect that some of our citizens would listen to us and see the rectitude of our cause, see the record of our performance, and move their position from where they, not if you only pander to your base who support you for all kinds of reasons, but you have to be continuously winning friends and influencing people. And based on the record of the PNM in Trinidad and Tobago, I am not surprised that we are winning more friends and influencing more people. And to have been able to give you a report like Foster Cummings gave you tonight, then you know our young people are in good hands and the future is secure. And I will go further to say, in the interest of young people and their future in Trinidad and Tobago. None. And that is one of 23 ministries. If I had brought the Ministry of Health here tonight, you would have got a similar report. If I have brought the Minister of Education, you would have got a similar report. If I had brought the Minister of Local Government, you would have got a similar report. If I had brought the Minister of Public, didn't catch all of them, you can't catch all of them, but the stream is there. Ladies and gentlemen, a simple matter like, matriculating and presenting to this country a few hundred new farmers is a seminal development. You know why? My grandfather, my father and their friends, is that those who are alive might starve to death. Because food was becoming unavailable. And all of a sudden they realize that the farmer is very important because he creates the food from planting the seed to breeding the animal to create meat. So ladies and gentlemen, one thing you know in Trinidad, I feel so proud and so satisfied when I see these numbers of young people showing interest in what is offered to them. And we only have to do more and more of that. And every one of them that we give an opportunity successfully And everyone that we guide away from government program offered them a pathway to a good life, to be a productive citizen, then we know that the government is impacting lives and success is attending our programs along the way. These are the things we can talk about. I'm sure tonight, for the tens of thousands of people who would have heard what was said by on the contrary, there are other colleagues of ours in the political arena. Every Sunday and every Monday night is the foulest of the foul, and all they do is attack personalities, tell lies, and mislead the population. Good racehorse, you don't just go and buy one that look good or making noise. You have to find out what is its record, what is the lineage, what is the pedigree of this animal. It's the same thing in politics. If you want to get a good outcome from management of a country, good enough. But by and large, the average citizen will know and be able to differentiate between what is good, what is better, what is best, and what is outright bad. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we are in Trinidad and Tobago. And we, in the PNM, we have to look into the history of Trinidad and Tobago to understand what the PNM is going through right now. When Dr. Williams brought party politics into Trinidad and Tobago, our country was a little backward, colonial, backwater in the British Empire. And when we got it, even before independence, when we got stories that told that our history is written, you know, I call it so-called the doctor say. The doctor say to pay as you earn. And Sparrow sang that calypso, it became a national anthem because Dr. Williams and the PNM. Dr. Williams and the PNM realized that there was a plethora of problems in this country, but there was a potential for profit. And that thing was, if you have an income, the government will take a small portion from each person. It's called income tax. And that will give a pool of money to the government to do the things that had to be done. Income tax was introduced in Trinidad and Tobago. And usually the people who could manage to pay it are the ones leading the charge. And the ones who don't have to pay it follow them. But Dr. Dr. Williams believed in the good sense of the average person. The Minister of Finance almost lost his job. I don't know how many of you know how many Tobago then. What's happening now? We're talking about a tax to be as dramatic and as progressive as that. And what is the reaction? There are people who have not learned. Income tax was introduced in a budget that was a couple of eradicate some chronic diseases. Yes, that's what they did. And all of a sudden the quality of life in the country began to change. Have a national housing program that had to build houses for people, Carenage, Charlottesville. Go through this country and see the first set of NHA houses and the families in there. Sometimes it's the first time income tax. Today, income tax in Trinidad and Tobago is accepted as a normal and reasonable way to get a revenue stream to do the things that you need to get done on a normal day. There are some countries that would not have accomplished that. And that $25 billion would have stayed in the hands of a few people. And the end result of that is that that country would have been lopsided, where a small group of people kept everything that the country had to ensure that that didn't happen here. By taking a small amount from people gives you a budget, and once you get that budget where you have a stream coming in, doesn't matter how large the stream is, but because you have it clear and over time you repay that money. And that is how borrowing is made to work for you. But you carry a debt that you have to service, but that debt could be paid because you have a revenue stream. And of course, those persons who are least able to pay the least. You don't pay if you earn once your earnings is $7,000 or less, you pay no income tax. At first it was, they take a bit more. The more you earn, the more you pay. That's why it's called PAYE, pay as you earn. That is the PNM doing the right thing for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy. There was worrying about local government reform and how important local government is. Because local government is where the government authorities service you at your doorstep, in your backyard, on your street, in your community, in your borough. For decades, County St. Patrick's and David, we're out in the east, County Caroni, County Victoria, County St. George East, County St. George West. That was the arrangement. And you had your county councils making progress, but making it slowly, but could make much more. A lot of these local roads in these areas were built by those county councils. A lot of the farmers then were supported by county councils, local government. We went into municipal corporations. So now what used to be St. George West is now Diego Martin. That's the kind of progress we've made. And then we went further under the Patrick Manning government. We had a lot of work done by Hazel Manning's, because Tobago had a different solution on the way. It's about 40 years now Tobago has a THA in Trinidad. We see what works. If there is a revenue stream at the local level, there's a whole lot more you can do than if you are there waiting on pittances to be let out to you part of the time. But you couldn't care less about doing anything at the place you're supposed to be working. There are plenty of those. Take the title for the stipend. But in the PNM, we believe that we can bring genuine improvement to the quality of your life by having local government reform. So we got it all done. And Mike admired the enthusiasm of the member for San Fernando West. He worked at the HGC before. He was in local government. He was in the Attorney General's office. He has a genuine energy for doing these kinds of things. And he led the team to convert the thoughts and the vision of local government. Spend all the waking moments in the previous years talking about local government, local government, local government. There are 14 corporations in Trinidad. We control 7 now, they control 7. You would think that they would have been excited about local government reform when we're talking about greater responsibility of the authority for managing the country. You would think they would want that. No, like everything else, including child marriage, they oppose it. We go to court, we go to parliament to stop, to prevent child marriage, prevent men of whatever age from marrying girls at 9 and 10 and 12 and 14. They're saying I am accusing them, I am embarrassing them. I didn't say that. I'm just quoting what you have done. Tell me you didn't do that. Tell me that in Trinidad and Tobago there wasn't a bill in the parliament to end child marriage. And you're going to have to pay property tax. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have no property, you have no property tax to pay. And all those who are talking about that, if you have property and you have difficulty for reasons that can be established in paying this tax, there is provision in the law for the Minister of Finance to give you an exemption. But you have already, because we have 65,000 people who get government grants to help them get along during the year. Some of those people have houses, and such persons can make a case that they can't pay the tax. There's provision for them not to pay. But of the other 400,000 people, 400,000 houses in the country, same way as the PAYE that Dr. Williams looked at in the early days, where a large number of people, each paying a small amount, gives you a significant pool of funds which is now to be hypothecated for a particular purpose. Local government, for local government districts, what more do you want? But they will oppose it. They will oppose it. It's not supposed to happen. They like what they have now. They want election. Let's suppose that we leave it the way it is. Do nothing. The thing that you have been saying is not working and is not doing anything for you. And all the visions of doing better, the election come and gone, and you have not offered a single change to improve it. Well, the PNM is saying that there's a purpose for the election. Our purpose in the election coming up whenever the day is called is to bring a part of that. Is what is the revenue stream that local government will have? How can we strengthen it? How can we better it? And ladies and gentlemen, we come to the point where the law was passed. And the law said that law is already practiced in Tobago. The Tobago House of Assembly gets elected for a 4-year term. I haven't heard anybody saying it is too long or it is too short. It is reasonable. So a 4-year term replaced the Tobago County Council 3-year term. So we've done that before. Why are they its service? Because Tobago people in the THA arrangement, they handle a revenue stream and they use it on a consistent basis. As I say that, I want to acknowledge my friend Bali, the tomato boy with us tonight. Bali, acknowledge him. You know, $100 million because you have $5 million coming in on a consistent basis. And if they can't do it, Nancy's will do it. Right? Once you have a revenue stream, you can do wonders. How many of you in this room have a mortgage? Right? Because you have a salary or something, you go to the bank and you borrow money, you buy, build a nice house, and then you spend time now paying for it. In the meantime, it's appreciating in value. So over at the end of the whole thing, you would have got the benefit of your investment. It's the same thing in infrastructure in a community. But you want all of them. We passed the law to do a particular thing, to give you a 4-year term. And the law is written that those who are in office on the 3-year term, there is some significant transition to take place, because we are talking about significant change. We now discover that the one who has run to court as a man of straw is really them. If you hear them in the parliament, we went to the Privy Council and we win, and we now know who the we is. We now know who the we is. Whether it is the purchase of Texaco, the coming of the unit trust, free secondary education, the PNM has to stand alone to get it done, or it does not get done. So in the parliament, the first judge said, the government is right. They said we're going to appeal it. They said, all an interpretation, eh? The second judge says, 3 judges look at it and say, the government is right. They said we're going to appeal to the Privy Council. Finally have something to campaign on. The UNC finally have something to campaign on, because they win in the Privy Council. They win in the Privy Council. And you mustn't mention that we had won in the High Court. And we mustn't mention that we had won in the appeal court. No, no, no. The government regard for truth even in their foolishness. In the very decision where this matter of an interpretation went through 3 layers of court, and up until the 17th of May, the government's interpretation prevailed. There's a fix to it. The Prime Minister comes to the country and says to you, we will go to the Parliament. This is the fix, and we have done that. Done it. But in the meantime, people who have not, on their interpretation, that Trinidad and Tobago is in trouble. So much trouble that the opposition leader, that idler, she writes a letter to the CARICOM Secretariat on this matter, indicating that Trinidad and Tobago is in this great difficulty where the government is no longer observing the laws. Because according to Patrick Manning, they got to say something. Right? But look at this something. Even though the judgment says in English, there is no breach of the Constitution. How many days and nights you hear these jokers accusing the government of affecting your constitutional rights? But the judgment is of the licking that they will get on election day. They are on a perpetual campaign of from Bahamas to Suriname, from Belize to Antigua. What Foster Cummings outlined here tonight as government programs for young people in a nation doesn't exist anywhere else in Caribbean. Doesn't. For a while, no, just every day. Because they have nothing useful to tell you. And I ask you as a population, for your sake and for God's sake, to ignore the UNC. One, to describe my workload, and I'm lazy. The other one is the word shame. I don't have to sit here tonight and tell you how hard I work. And that's for me to do, right? That's for you to judge. The cabinet I lead, let them talk. You could care as much as you like, but it takes cash to care. Everything that he mentioned has to be paid for. You give a big round of applause when you heard that the Shagaramas Convention Center will be converted into a youth facility. Yes, that cabinet approved that already. $60 million that will cost. Because we spent $20 million upgrading that place, and as God have it, it was ready and available so the young girls to put inside there. Otherwise, ask yourself, where would they have gone? Where would they be put? You go down to St. James in the morning, every morning, and I look at it, and these things are important to me. I look at it every morning, and I see the government bought it and put it there. That costs $75 million. These are expenses. Right? These are expenses. We offer public servants a 4% pay increase. That will cost hundreds of millions of dollars on an ongoing basis. How are you paying that? Especially since after out of the at our situation in 2016. At the Hyatt Hotel, we called the fraternity in energy and business in something called Spotlight on Energy. I'm sure you all forgot that. At that, I as Prime Minister said to the world that if their shareholders are benefiting, especially from increased profits, then my shareholders, who are you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, an arrangement has to be arrived at where you too have to benefit. As usual, the reaction was negative from our people. The Prime Minister is chasing away foreign investment, and the Prime aimed at. And the end result of that is that a hole in our national budget has been filled by billions of dollars which were not there before. At the next meeting of the PNM, I will have the Minister of Finance. You don't care to the UNC's Kamla Prasad Bissessa, Nakid, Jolene John, and other miscreants, you know. And you will think that they're serious or they have something to contribute, you know. But the other word that, you know, she uses, shame. I want a record show had stolen so much money from a people, and then the courts would have ruled as to who stole that money and how much they stole, and found them guilty, albeit years after they. And you know, have to tell this country that your party's record is one of how much $1 billion you stole by deliberate action. Because in case you all don't know, that Piaco airport, it was supposed to cost 75 million US. When we looked at the revenues from the airport, and I could tell you because unlike other members in the cabinet, this young lady and this one and this young man, they were not there. I was there. I was there. Camille was there. She was a little girl then. For an upward price of 105 million US. That was the project. That was the project. And there was no real problem then with them having increase in the price or a different project, government come in, government has to be responsible, government has to be given a scope to make the decisions. 105 million US dollars on it. Let me bring it down to TT for you. It was supposed to be just over $600 million. By the time the finance books in the Ministry of Finance was finished with that project for what they had sucked out of the Treasury, it was $1.6 billion. Identified as having done that. And who should be in the dock in the court as they were in the dock in the Miami court. You had your Kamla Prasad Bisesa government coming to the parliament. I was still there, telling the parliament that they're going to make a just aid the court. Section 34 was brought into being by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. And today she has the unmitigated gall to be calling my name and mentioning the PNM name in the very sad month that the Miami court fined all of them guilty. Tutelage and encouragement, they did that, behaving as though it didn't happen. As for me, I lived that from the beginning to today, and I will never forget them, because that was a record in corruption in any country. What you have to be careful with, and people in your group that you lead or that you represent, when they fall short, what is expected of you? You are required to identify the fault. You are required to stand on a higher, not in the UNC. The leadership provides a pathway for the wrongdoers to escape accountability. That is why Section 34 was brought into being, so they could escape what they have done. And worse, you become the mouthpiece to lie to the country. And because I am head of the National Security Council, I know a lot of things that you all don't know. And of course, in some cases, I am restrained by the court from telling you what I know. In other cases, even basic PNM, the PNM has swatted aside 63 of those already. But the point I want to make to you is this. You would have seen the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Chairman of the National Security Council last March, okay, defending the action of the Prime Minister, Chairman of the National Security Council, where a request was made to the to prevent the Prime Minister from telling the Parliament the report that the Prime Minister had should be quashed, because the Prime Minister had no authority to find out about that, and the Prime Minister must not tell the Parliament. All I will say to you all here tonight, while all this national rah-rah going on, I want you to ask yourself, in Tobago they have a saying, moon does run, but they catch up. As I said before, they do turn. And when they turn, and in 2.5 hours, a jury in Miami find all of them guilty as charged. And the leaders in the conversation in Trinidad and Tobago is the real issues, how much the lawyers charge. A case costs 5, you're going to lose. Let the man go away. That's what I'm telling you, you know. That's what I'm telling you. And you saw the other day a whole group of them were before the court, saying that they have no question to answer. Because the state agency, the court has now said that they must proceed to answer the charges. I have no doubt that they will appeal, because they all have their future linked to two developments. One, the Privy Council, and two, the next general election. They were hoping that we would have lost an extra 5 years. Because the record will show that the Kamala Prasad predecessor government for 5 years pretended that that matter in Miami didn't exist. And I instructed the Attorney General, and a commitment made to you, the people, that we will pursue white-collar crime to the ends of the earth. If you've stolen money from the people of Trinidad and Tobago and there's evidence, we'll pursue you. And that came to the head when the lawyers in Miami asked that the former Attorney General, you know what they were saying about him when he was in Miami on that case? The most derogatory things. Not that he was there representing you, fighting for the money that they stole, you know. The Attorney General, the former the Minister of Local Government in the Miami, Lala, all negative, because they were hoping that the case would have been thrown out, because they had made so much, stayed the course and delivered for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't expect our political opponent without decency to say anything good about him. But it's not always so, you know. President, you know why he was impeached? You saw Donald Trump being impeached, right? So you know what an impeachment is. You know why Nixon wasn't impeached? He was a Republican president. But senior people in the controvertible. The Republicans went to Nixon and said, Dick, you gotta go. That's how it is. That's what leadership does. Leadership ought not to be defending wrongdoing and defending thieves. You heard about this issue with a particular person who had matters with the police and us and Barbados and so. You heard that story, right? I, as head of the National Security Council and as Prime Minister, I first saw it in the newspaper. Then because the two things I don't do easily, you know. I don't go to the parliament and talk because I want to talk. And I don't sign Keith Rowley because I like to write. When I do that, it has to be important and well considered. I went to the parliament and I told the parliament as Prime Minister of National Security had gone before or after. And said the same thing as Minister, that the government knows nothing about it. But like the government of Barbados, we said, if there is a problem where the state is at fault, the state will have to honor its liabilities. That's the law. What does the opposition leader do? The opposition leader, all in the benefit of people who are of interest to the police. Until it reached the point where the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago of Section 34 fame is not the police officers writes the police officers in a public letter to not trust the Prime Minister, to not trust the Minister, and to not trust the leadership of the police service. Who will benefit from that? Tonight I tell you, this is just another attempt by the UNC being the UNC standing in the breach for criminals. And if you, the people of, you only come alive when it's time to make manima over somebody who have problems with the law, and you are the greatest lawyer in town. You hypothecate a senior counsel title and talking about shame, I who have my own doctorate from my own work, from my own experience, a woman who stole a senior council title, questioning my title. Now you know they could not be serious. You know they could not, but they had to be saying something. To sit as the President of the United Nations General Assembly for upcoming meeting where the world meets, where all the countries of the world meet to discuss the various problems of the world, friend and foe. We are in the contest for it. When we put our name up, ask yourself how we end up unopposed. It is because the rest of the world who had candidates that they could have put up said to themselves and among themselves that since Trinidad and Tobago is offering itself, we will. And when you see that, look at a map of Angola, of Russia, of South Africa, of Congo, of France, of Germany, of the United States, of Argentina, and ask yourself, how did this little island get this reputation and this regard to be held in such high esteem that the rest of the world. And I want to thank and congratulate our team, because this is teamwork. Because when Dr. Brown came to me and told me that we should embark upon this mission, I must tell you, I didn't have the appetite at that time for the fight. And he told me it wouldn't be a hard fight. I said, well, okay. You all can go ahead. And they got cabinet approval to proceed. Dr. Brown to go forward. I said, do we have a candidate of stature who can stand that? Because when you're going for those positions, it's the whole world up against you. The whole world. Some of them, the names bigger than the size of our country. And they went. And Dr. Brown, Ambassador Dennis Francis, our team at the UN, and our friends will unflinchingly support Trinidad and Tobago. That's how it is. It doesn't happen every day. So when it happens, savor it. Tell your children about it. Let them feel good about themselves. Of every race, color, creed, class, or geography, to denigrate it. That's what it is. And if that is the case, to whom do you look for the future of this country? You want improve and reform local government. To whom do you look? In front of the superior crowd, I told them about the local government reform that you were engaged in and what the government was going to do. And that the next two communities that would be elevated and that should aspire to be elevated to borough status would be Diego Martin and Siparia. And the people of Siparia supported it, which is in charge of the Siparia Corporation, would support the people in the council and come out and at least, join them in this elevation to status and make it work for them as improved management and so on and so on. No. They go on trying to get them to change their vote and asking us in the parliament who authorized us to give Siparia borough status. Cost of changing the names of all the streets, and she count all the streets in Siparia Corporation, is 404. And you have to go and change all the names and change the paper on the letterhead. You who encourage and run interference for people who stole billions, coming to waste my time. The people of Trinidad and Tobago. You all are in grave danger. My watch has stopped. So I thought it was a little earlier election. Are you for reform or are you against the reform? That is the singular issue that we are going to the polls on. If you are for the reforms to continue to improve the quality of your life, you should vote for the PNM on election. Agree that local government reform is worthwhile and worthy of your vote, and you vote for the UNC. That means you are saying that you want it to remain the way it is, so that a corporation like Sangre Grande, after election, one of the biggest parts of the campaign last local government election was in Grande. Big for the youngsters to play football on the field. They can't maintain a window in a building. You can't call them for a drain to be cleaned. You can't call, all they do the wait every time they see rain set up, because it's going to have flood. And you can accuse the government of not cleaning drains. Right? Minister of Works didn't clean drains, no matter how big your drain is. The vote is important. This year, we have a clear issue as to why you should vote. Local government turnout is normally low because people are not interested in what they call local politics like that. But this year, local government elections should attract you. You vote yes for the PNM and you get it. You vote no, that means you voted for the UNC. To maintain the status quo, create loopholes for people to to be in office on fraud charge and still chairing the corporation under them. People could be in Sanigandi on fraud charge for interference. So it's crystal clear. We are going to campaign. We're going to knock on your door to remind you. And I'm saying to you here, the PNM, don't look for any big set of meetings. Don't look for any set of noise. Put on your red jersey. Follow your candidate. Walk the streets. Knock on the doors. Tell them why. And it is a revenue stream to be able to fix your roads and keep them fixed. Them counting potholes. But how do you fix potholes or prevent potholes? You need to have the resources at the local level. You want your farmers to have agricultural access roads. You want your schools to be maintained. And you want programs in your districts which you don't know have. Local government reform. Go out there now. And the only party that makes dramatic changes for the better in this country is the People's National Movement. And that is why we say, Dr. Nicola always say, our record is good. Our record is a champion's record, and we are the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM, and we shall.
Minister, we wish your watch wasn't stopping working. Man, thank you very, very much, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, for that comprehensive lesson in the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard here tonight that voting and elections have from tomato boy to business magnate, our very own Aurelian Mr. Bali